Hello, friends. Welcome to Storycraft. On this channel, you will enjoy world top stories. Let's view the video. The women behind the ice walls, whispers beneath the frozen silence. The vanishing expedition. In the winter of 1892, a group of Russian explorers vanished while mapping the uncharted tundra beyond Siberia's icy cliffs. Equipped with the finest gear of the era and driven by rumors of a hidden world sealed in frost, they ventured into a blizzard and were never heard from again. Their final message, carved into a frozen tree trunk, read, "She is watching us." A map that shouldn't exist. Over a century later, an ancient map surfaced in a Norwegian vault, sealed in a locked box marked "For Eyes That Dare." The map displayed a forbidden path through the ice, one that led to a crater-shaped valley hidden by permanent storms. At its center, drawn in red ink, was the outline of a figure encased in a translucent wall. She was unnamed. Only a chilling phrase accompanied her image: "The one before time." Frozen whispers at night locals spoke of dreams that came with the wind, voices calling through the frost, singing lullabies in a language no one remembered. Shepherds claimed to hear footsteps on ice that never cracked. A child in a nearby village once drew a woman with eyes of crystal and lips stitched with frostbite. When asked who she was, he replied, "She's still sleeping, but soon she'll wake." The scientist who wouldn't let go, Dr. Alina Morozov, a glaciologist with a haunted past, found the map while researching ancient tectonic shifts. Obsessed with unraveling the mystery, she organized a small team to retrace the lost expedition's path. Her colleagues warned her, "There are things in the ice not meant to be found." She only replied, "She's been calling to me." The ice wall. After months of navigating treacherous terrain and nearly losing 2 team members to the cold, Alina's team stumbled upon it. A towering, unnatural wall of ice, smooth as glass and humming faintly, rose from the snow like the spine of the earth itself. At its center, obscured by layers of blue frost, was the silhouette of a woman, eyes closed, arms crossed, perfectly preserved. Time had not touched her. The crack begins as the team set up camp. The temperature dropped unnaturally low. Equipment malfunctioned, batteries drained. One of the crew began speaking in an unknown dialect during his sleep. Then came the sound. The first crack. A fine fracture ran across the surface of the ice, pulsing with an eerie blue light. Elina stepped closer, her breath fogging the barrier, eyes wide with both awe and fear. Beneath the silence, she waits. That night, no one slept. The ice groaned like a living beast. In the darkness, faint humming echoed from the wall, like a lullaby, sung backward. One by one, the team members began to forget details, names, places, even their own faces in the mirror. Only Elina remained unaffected. She stared at the woman behind the ice, and for a fleeting moment, the woman opened one eye. The lost city of crystalline shadows, an invitation from the past, after. The woman's eye opened for that single heart-stopping moment. The ice wall emitted a pulse, not a sound, not a tremor, something else. A vibration that traveled through bone and memory. Alina felt it first, then her team. In that moment, they all saw the same vision. A city of impossible architecture buried beneath the ice, glimmering with crystalline towers and streets paved in obsidian. It wasn't just a hallucination. It was a memory from a time before. Humanity. Into the rift. The next morning, the ice wall had changed. The fracture had widened, revealing a tunnel beyond, black, narrow, and pulsing with an unnatural light. Against every instinct, Alina led them through it. As they stepped inside, the cold didn't bite. It welcomed them. The tunnel was smooth, like it had been carved by something intelligent, and as they moved deeper, ancient symbols lit up the walls in pale blue fire. The city that breathes. The tunnel opened into a vast cavern. There it was, the city from their visions, not ruined but preserved. Towering spires of translucent crystal reached the cavern ceiling. Bridges hung weightlessly in the air. Giant statues lined the streets, their faces serene but unfamiliar, almost human but not quite. The city was silent, yet alive. The air pulsed like breath, and the walls glimmered as if reacting to their presence. The statues that watch as the team explored, they noticed the statues seemed to shift slightly when no one was watching. A glance away, and suddenly their heads tilted. Their eyes, once still, now pointed toward the explorers. One team member, Victor, stared too long at a statue's eyes and collapsed. He whispered a single phrase over and over. The eyes remember. When he awoke, his irises had turned pale blue. The Hall of Memory Crystals, in the center of the city, stood a temple-like structure. Inside, the walls were lined with floating crystals, each one humming faintly, glowing softly. Alina reached out and touched one. Instantly, her mind was overwhelmed with images. A people that lived in the frost long before recorded history, who built the city with the help of the woman behind the ice. She was their protector and their prisoner. They called her Velira, Mother of Winter. The forbidden chamber, a stairwell, led them below the temple, into a sub-chamber sealed with a symbol matching the one on the ancient map. As Alina pressed her hand to it, the door opened. Inside, they found murals painted in ice, depicting a great war between the frost-bound people and the Firewalkers, invaders from the south who sought to use Velira's power. When she refused, they cursed her and entombed her within the walls, along with the city she vowed to protect. The reawakening begins. One of the murals showed a prophecy. When the ice cracks and her eye opens, the frost shall rise again, and the Firewalkers shall return. Alina stared at it, heart pounding. The last image showed a figure that looked eerily like her, standing before Velira's prison as the city awakened. The crystals around them began to hum louder. Light danced across the walls. The statues outside began to turn toward the temple. No way back. Suddenly, the tunnel they entered through collapsed. Snow and ice filled the passage, trapping them inside. Panic set in, but Alina remained calm. She felt it again. That pulse. A sense of destiny. She turned to her team and whispered, "We were never meant to leave. We were meant to finish what they started." She who watches through the ice. The Chamber of Echoes. Trapped within the crystalline city, the team found themselves drawn to a central dome, its ceiling lined with glowing veins of light and frost. The moment they entered, whispers returned. They didn't come from the walls, but from within each person's mind. The voice was feminine, ageless, and carried a weight like ancient glaciers grinding mountains into dust. It said only one name, Valyra. A mirror of memories. At the dome's center stood a circular platform of silver glass. As Alina stepped onto it, the platform shimmered and became a mirror. But it didn't reflect her. It reflected Valyra. Dressed in ice-woven robes, her expression solemn. Her lips moved, but there was no sound. Then, as if through instinct, Alina mimicked the movement, unlocking words in a language she'd never known. The phrase she whispered aloud, "I see you, forgotten queen. Visions of a dying age." The dome darkened, and images flooded their minds. A time when the Frost Realm was a paradise, when Valyra ruled with mercy and fierce grace. But then came fire, invaders with weapons of heat and fury. The frost folk burned, and the queen was betrayed by her own, sealed away so her power couldn't fall into enemy hands. The city, once thriving, was buried in ice by her final breath. Those marked by ice. As the visions faded, strange marks began appearing on the team's skin, faint snowflake-shaped sigils glowing beneath the surface like frostbite in moonlight. Each mark was unique. Alina's burned brightest, and the voice returned. "One among you carries my memory. Only she may open the last gate." Tension rose. No one trusted the voice, but none could deny the truth. It was Alina. She had been chosen. The Awakening. Pool. Beneath the dome, a hidden staircase led to a frozen basin of liquid silver. Alina stepped in, drawn by unseen hands. The surface did not ripple. It hardened under her feet. She stood, surrounded by swirling reflections of Valyra's life. Her joys, her betrayal, her rage. The liquid whispered, "You are not the first to awaken me, but you may be the last." The Curse of the Watcher. Alina emerged changed, her hair streaked with white, her veins glowing faintly. She could now hear the city speak, the structures, the stones, even the statues. Each one bore a memory, and each whispered of the same warning. Do not release her. She remembers what the world did to her. But it was too late. The ice around Valyra's chamber had begun to melt. The fracture spreads. As they returned to the surface of the city, they witnessed cracks spiderwebbing across the tallest tower. Frost bloomed in the air. Time itself felt slower, like the city was shifting back into an older version of itself. One by one, the team members began having visions, not of the past, but of a future where ice covered the earth and Valyra walked among the living once more. The Dilemma. Inside the final chamber stood the last seal, Valyra's heartstone, a glowing blue crystal the size of a human chest, pulsing like a heartbeat. Alina was drawn to it. The others begged her to stop. But she was no longer fully herself. Her voice carried a resonance not her own when she said, she never wanted revenge. She wanted balance. The Ice Queen stirs. With trembling fingers, Alina touched the heartstone. The city trembled. Light surged through every tower and into the sky above. Far away across the tundras and oceans, satellites failed. Climates shifted. A polar wind began to spread. And beneath it all, Valira, her eyes now fully open, smiled. The curse of the eternal winter. Storms that shouldn't exist. The moment Elena touched the Heartstone, the weather outside the buried city changed. A thunderous roar echoed from above as black clouds swirled into being, twisting unnaturally in slow-motion spirals. Snow began falling, not normal snow, but dark, shimmering flakes that burned slightly when touched. Across the world, meteorologists panicked. A polar storm had formed in minutes and was spreading with impossible speed. The city awakens. Below the surface, the ancient city began to change. Ice melted from the buildings, revealing glowing structures beneath. Bridges unfolded, walls shifted, towers realigned. What once felt like ruins now felt alive. Elena's team watched as once still statues stepped off their pedestals and began to move. They didn't attack. They simply walked toward the central temple, like guardians answering a long-forgotten call. Those left behind, one by one, the team members lost control. Natalia, the linguist, collapsed into sobs, crying out words in Valira's ancient tongue. Dmitri stood motionless, frost slowly consuming his skin. He didn't scream, he smiled. Only Elena remained fully aware, but her mind was splitting. She could feel Valira inside her thoughts, gentle, commanding, ancient, beyond comprehension. "You must see the world as I see it," the voice whispered. Visions of balance. Elena was pulled into a trance. She stood in a frozen vision of Earth, centuries after humanity had vanished. Cities buried in silence. Forests reclaimed by frost. A peaceful, cold Eden. No war, no greed. Just stillness. The world reborn through winter. Valira's voice echoed. "They scorched the world to rule it. I preserved it to save it." The firewalkers return. Suddenly, alarms blared from Elena's portable gear. A military signal. Satellites had picked up movement, unidentified aircraft approaching from the south. Governments had noticed the awakening. The firewalkers, the descendants of those ancient invaders, were coming again. Not with swords and flames, but drones and missiles. This time, they feared what lay beneath the ice. The decision. Atop the great staircase of the temple, Elena stood before the final seal. Valira's prison now weakened, the woman within visible and motionless, but no longer asleep. Her eyes were wide open. Elena's fingers trembled. With one gesture, she could shatter the last barrier and let Valira walk free. Behind her, the remaining team members pleaded, "Don't do this! You don't know what she really is!" A single tear of frost. As Elena reached for the seal, Valira raised a single hand and placed it on the inner surface of the wall. A tear formed in the ice. Not water, but solid frost, perfect and crystalline. Elena stared at it, and for the first time felt her. Not a monster, not a god, just a woman, betrayed, forgotten, and left behind by a world that feared her power. The seal cracks. With a whisper, Elena spoke. Let the world remember. The seal cracked. The lights swallowed them, awakening the woman. Time forgot the world changes overnight. Across the globe, the sky turned pale. A cold front swept over continents, freezing deserts, silencing jungles, calming oceans. Satellites blinked out. Communications failed. But no one knew where it started. In the deepest part of the earth, a woman had taken her first step in 10,000 years. Valera walks again. She emerged from the ice with snow swirling around her, robes flowing like storm clouds. Her skin shimmered with the colors of frost, eyes ancient as stars. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence carried memory, grief, and power. The statues bowed. The city lit up like a frozen star. Alina, the chosen memory. Alina walked beside her, changed forever. Her voice now carried the rhythm of glaciers, her thoughts laced with Valera's will. She was no longer just human. She was the vessel, the bridge between two worlds, between what was and what must be. The Firewalker's End, the aircrafts that approached never landed. Frozen mid-air, shattered by invisible waves of cold. Armies mobilized, but their bullets turned to snowflakes before firing. Valera made no war. She simply rewrote the world. A new era of ice. Civilizations faded beneath falling snow. Skyscrapers became glaciers. Oceans calmed, cooled, and froze. Humanity's noise became silence. Nature reclaimed the earth. Time, once racing, slowed. Whisper on the wind. Legends began again, of a queen who ruled with no throne, of a city beneath the ice, of a woman who watched through frozen walls, waiting for the world to listen. And now she walks in silence. But her winter is eternal. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel Storycraft for more interesting videos.